इलाहाबाद उच्च न्यायालय के वर्तमान न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा को न्यायाधीश जांच अधिनियम 1968 की धारा 3 के साथ भारत के संविधान के अनुच्छेद 124(4) के साथ पठित अनुच्छेद 217 और अनुच्छेद 218 के अंतर्गत उच्च न्यायालय के न्यायाधीश के पद से हटाने के लिए एक समावेदन प्रस्तुत करने का प्रस्ताव है। ये सदन संकल्प करता है कि इलाहाबाद उच्च न्यायालय के न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा को उनके निम्नलिखित कदाचार के लिए पद से हटाने के लिए महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी को एक समावेदन प्रस्तुत किया जाए। दिल्ली उच्च न्यायालय के तत्कालीन न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा वर्तमान में इलाहाबाद उच्च न्यायालय के न्यायाधीश के सक्रिय और कब्जे में नई दिल्ली स्थित 30 तुगलक क्रिसेंट परिसर में आग लगने के कारण अस्पष्टीकृत नकदी की बरामदगी के संबंध में भारत के सर्वोच्च न्यायालय द्वारा सार्वजनिक किया गया विवरण हमें 15 मार्च 2025 की सुबह 30 तुगलक क्रिसेंट नई दिल्ली से जली हुई नकदी धन मलबे को हटाने के संबंध में साक्ष्य की भी जानकारी है। हमने न्यायाधीश जांच अधिनियम 1968 के सामान्य प्रावधान और विशेष रूप से उसकी धारा 3 के प्रावधानों का अध्ययन किया है और हमें उनके बारे में परिचित कराया गया है। हमने न्यायाधीश जांच अधिनियम 1969 के प्रावधानों का भी अध्ययन किया है। हमें उनके बारे में भी परिचित कराया गया है। हमने सी रविचंद्र अय्यर बनाम न्यायमूर्ति A.M. भट्टाचार्य एवं अन्य 1995 5 SCC 457 केस में भारत के उच्चतम न्यायालय द्वारा घोषित कानूनों के साथ साथ अतिरिक्त जिला एवं सत्र न्यायाधीश एक्स बनाम मध्य प्रदेश उच्च न्यायालय के मामले में दिए गए फैसलों से भी खुद को परिचित कर लिया है। 2015 4 SCC 91 और ये कि अतिरिक्त जिला एवं सत्र न्यायाधीश एक्स सुप्रभा के मामले में उक्त निर्णय को सामान्यता और विशेष रूप से पैरा 33 को पढ़ने पर ये स्पष्ट है कि दिल्ली उच्च न्यायालय के मुख्य न्यायाधीश ने न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा के विरुद्ध शिकायत को गंभीर प्रकृति का पाया और उक्त निर्णय के पैरा 33 के तहत परिकल्पित इन हाउस प्रक्रिया का पालन किया। यह भी स्पष्ट है कि भारत के तत्कालीन मुख्य न्यायाधीश ने इस गंभीर एवं चौंकाने वाले घटना और तथ्यों पर विचार करने के बाद और न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा की प्रतिक्रिया तथा दिल्ली उच्च न्यायालय के मुख्य न्यायाधीश की टिप्पणियों को ध्यान में रखते हुए ये राय बनाई कि इस विषय पर गहन जांच आवश्यक है। इसलिए भारत के तत्कालीन मुख्य न्यायाधीश ने अतिरिक्त जिला एवं सत्र न्यायाधीश एस सुप्रा के मामले में निर्णय के पैरा 33(3) में परिकल्पना के अनुसार एक 3 सदस्यीय समिति का गठन किया गया। हमें यह भी याद है कि भारत के माननीय तत्कालीन मुख्य न्यायाधीश ने समिति की रिपोर्ट भारत के महामहिम राष्ट्रपति और भारत के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री को भेजिए। ये स्पष्ट है कि भारत के माननीय तत्कालीन मुख्य न्यायाधीश ने अतिरिक्त जिला एवं सत्र न्यायाधीश एस सुप्रा के मामले में फैसले के पैरा 33(7) के प्रावधानों के अनुसार कार्य किया है, जो स्पष्ट रूप से भारत के तत्कालीन मुख्य न्यायाधीश की राय को दर्शाता है कि पैरा 33(3) के तहत गठित समिति की रिपोर्ट में पाए गए आरोप इस प्रकृति के हैं कि उक्त न्यायाधीश को हटाने की कार्रवाई शुरू करने की आवश्यकता है। उपयुक्त तथ्यों के अवलोकन और सार्वजनिक रूप से उपलब्ध तथ्यों, न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा के कब्जे वाले और उनके नियंत्रण में स्थित आधिकारिक परिसर से जली हुई नकदी की बरामदी और उसे हटाने से संबंधित परिस्थितियों की स्वतंत्र रूप से जांच करने के बाद हम स्वतंत्र रूप से ये भी पाते हैं कि भारत के संविधान के अनुच्छेद 124 के साथ पठित अनुच्छेद 217 और अनुच्छेद 218 के तहत हटाने की प्रक्रिया न्यायाधीश अधिनियम 1968 और उसके तहत बनाए गए नियमों के अनुसार शुरू की जानी चाहिए। वेदाक चरित्र और वित्तीय बौद्धिक ईमानदारी न्यायपालिका में एक आम आदमी द्वारा रखे गए विश्वास की नींव है, और यह भी कि वर्तमान मामले से जुड़े तथ्य जो कि भ्रष्टाचार की ओर इशारा करते हैं, वो भारत के संविधान के अनुच्छेद 124 के साथ अनुच्छेद 217 और अनुच्छेद 218 के तहत कार्रवाई और प्रक्रिया के योग्य हैं, और संसद को इस विषय पर एक स्वर में बोलना चाहिए और देश के प्रत्येक नागरिक को सार्वजनिक जीवन में भ्रष्टाचार के प्रति जीरो टॉलरेंस के अपने संकल्प के बारे में एक भेजना चाहिए। अतः हम भारतीय संविधान के अनुच्छेद 124 के साथ पठित अनुच्छेद 217 और अनुच्छेद 218 के अंतर्गत इलाहाबाद उच्च न्यायालय के न्यायाधीश न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा को पद से हटाने के लिए ये प्रस्ताव प्रस्तुत करते हैं। कृपया इस प्रस्ताव पर आगे की कार्रवाई की जाए। इस प्रस्ताव को नियमानुसार उचित पाते हुए मैंने इसकी स्वीकृति प्रदान की है। न्यायाधीश जांच अधिनियम 1968 की धारा 3 की उपधारा 2 के अनुसार मैंने न्यायमूर्ति यशवंत वर्मा को पद से हटाने के अनुरोध के आधारों की जांच करने के उद्देश्य से निम्नलिखित 3 सदस्यों वाली एक समिति गठित की है। माननीय न्यायमूर्ति श्री अरविंद कुमार, न्यायाधीश उच्चतम न्यायालय, माननीय न्यायमूर्ति श्री मनिंदर मोहन श्रीवास्तव, मुख्य न्यायाधीश मद्रास उच्च न्यायालय, श्री बी.वी. आचार्य, वरिष्ठ अधिवक्ता, कर्नाटक उच्च न्यायालय। समिति यथाशीघ्र अपनी रिपोर्ट प्रस्तुत करेगी। जांच समिति की रिपोर्ट प्राप्त होने तक ये प्रस्ताव लंबित रहेगा। माननीय सदस्यगण, मुझे कुछ माननीय सदस्यों की कई विषयों पर स्थगन सूचना प्राप्त हुई है। मैंने किसी स्थगन सूचना की आज अनुमति प्रदान नहीं की। सभा पटल पर रखे जाने वाले पत्र आइटम नंबर 2 श्री जितिन प्रसाद।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आपकी अनुमति से आज की संशोधित कार्यसूची में क्रम संख्या 2 पर मेरे नाम के समक्ष उल्लेखित पत्रों को सदन के पटल पर रखता हूं।
आइटम नंबर 3 श्री अर्जुन मेघवाल।
Honorable Speaker, sir, with your permission, on behalf of my colleague Shri Pankaj Chaudhary, I rise to lay the papers listed against his name at serial number 3 in the revised list of business for today. Thank you.
Item number 4, Sri Ramdas Atawale.
Respected
Please,
Speaker,
Manya Ramdas Atawale.
I lay on the table of the House papers listed against my name at serial number 4 in today's revised list of business. और हंगामा बंद करो.
All right, that's the latest coming in as far as Parliament proceeding for Justice Varma's impeachment is concerned. The Speaker there, Om Birla, announcing a 3-member panel to look into those serious allegations of cash found at the home of Justice Yashwant Varma. My colleague Brijesh Pandey joining us with more details. Brijesh, it's a step closer to perhaps the impeachment of Justice Yashwant Varma. The 3-member panel will look into the evidence that was found at his home. The 3-member in-house panel has already indicted him. He's moved Supreme Court against it. But the new panel will now look at whether he was culpable or not.
Well, absolutely. You know, Shweta, it's a step closer to the impeachment of Justice Yashwant Varma, because there was a petition which was filed before the Speaker, and there was also a parallel request which came from Chief Justice of India to both Prime Minister of India as well as the President of India. And acting on this resolution, which was moved by and signed by 145 Lok Sabha MPs, both from ruling party as well as opposition, was given to Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, and Om Birla has announced formation of 3 members committee. He has given his sanction to initiate the prosecution, initiates the contempt, the impeachment process against the judge. And now this 3-member committee will look into the detail, will go into the detail and look into the merits and demerits of the case. And then once the report is submitted, then the process of impeachment will begin. So I think, you know, we are a step closer to the impeachment process. You very rightly pointed out that the last or perhaps one of the last legal refuge which Justice Varma sought was before the Supreme Court, in which he said that the way the investigating committee formed by the Supreme Court did not conduct the probe in a fair, non-partisan manner, and also said that, you know, that the letter which was sent by the Chief Justice to both Prime Minister as well as the President of India was not in accordance with law. But the Supreme Court dismissed his petition, saying that, you know, that his own conduct was required, and he was supposed to appear before the panel, but he refused to do so. So summarily his request was dismissed by the apex court. So one thing is very clear, that the impeachment process got one step closer with the announcement of this 3-member committee in which there are 2 sitting judges and 1 noted jurist, B.V. Acharya, who is currently practicing in the state of Karnataka. So it's very clear that there has been a formation, and now this 3-member panel will look into the complaint which has been filed against Justice Varma and will arrive at a decision. Shweta?
Right. Let me quickly take our viewers back to Brijesh, where the controversy all began, and it began on 14th of March 2025 when fire tenders were rushed to Justice Varma's house, which there were reports of at that point that there was a massive fire. And after fire tenders visited the site, they found stack of cash. The cash was to the tune of, it couldn't be counted because there was so much of it, but there was enough and more evidence that evidence was then submitted to Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna at the moment, from where began the process of identifying who the cash belonged to. How did it arrive at Justice Varma's house? Because he so far denied that it belongs to him, and he continues to say that it is a conspiracy.
Well, yes, but you know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, one of the key judicial principles is the Caesar's wife must be seen above suspicion. The fact that this huge tranche of cash was recovered from Justice Varma's bungalow, he kept on saying that, you know, it was discovered at the outhouse. A committee was formed. He did not appear before the committee. Sources were, close to Justice Varma said that, you know, that it's even foolish to think that, you know, that anybody would keep this amount of cash in the outhouse. But I think, you know, the investigation which was done by the in-house panel formed by the Chief Justice of India, the then Chief Justice, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, and the fact that, you know, that Justice Varma refused to appear before that committee to put his own point of view, to put his side of the story before that committee. And later on, when the committee submitted its report, virtually indicting Justice Varma, then he approached the Supreme Court with with what many termed as, you know, delaying tactics as far as Justice Varma is concerned. And, you know, side by side, you know, Chief Justice had also short of a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, seeking investigation into the case. I think, the Lok Sabha Speaker decided to wait till that petition of Justice Varma before the apex court was disposed of. Once it was disposed of, it was just a matter of time before the committee was announced. And today at 12 noon sharp, the Lok Sabha Speaker has announced the three-member committee, two judges, one eminent jurist who will go into details. And once they submit their report, then the impeachment process will start. What gives, what makes this very difficult for Justice Varma is the fact that opposition and the ruling dispensation, which refuses to see eye to eye on most of the important issues, are unanimous when it comes to Justice Varma impeachment process. So I don't think that government will have any problem in securing 2/3 of majority in both houses of parliament. Shweta?
And just to highlight the importance of it, Brijesh, this is the 6th time that impeachment process has been started against a sitting High Court or a Supreme Court judge. So essentially goes on to say that this is an extremely serious issue, has been in such a light from the day one, while Justice Yashwant Varma continued to deny that cash belonged to him. He was later moved to Allahabad High Court, which was his parent court, and from there he was told not to be a part of any judicial inquiry or be a part of judiciary up until a decision is made on whether he will stay or not stay. But I think the path is now clear, Brijesh. If this three-member committee finds him guilty, then he'll be asked to let go. He will be made to go.
I think, the options before Justice Varma is extremely limited. See, the fact of the matter is that, Shweta, Justice Varma in his entire career would have adjudicated hundreds and thousands of cases. Now, what happens is, and one of the key reasons why, the Chief Justice of India, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, took such big umbrage and also, it created ripples, is the fact that, this particular seizure of cash, or the fact that, the wads of notes were found half burned, and, video record and all, creates a doubt on the entire judicial career of Justice Varma. Now, it forces people who have been at the receiving end, or would have, at the receiving end of any of his judgment, would now be forced to think that something might be not right, and that is the reason why he could not get the judgment in his or her favor. So I think, it creates a big question mark as far as the judicial probity, integrity is concerned, and that is the reason why we have seen that, even the Supreme Court of India acted with great alacrity and was met there half by both opposition as well as the government of India, where they said that yes, these are very serious matter. It casts a great shadow of doubt as far as integrity of judiciary is concerned, and this case should be taken to logical moment. An interim committee was formed. It investigated. Prima facie agreed with all the proofs that was there. Justice Varma did not appear before the cabinet, sought legal refuge, that was denied. It was just a matter of time. So by announcing of a three-member committee by the Lok Sabha Speaker, I think it's just a matter of time before the impeachment process starts.
And it's also, I think, in a way, giving some more breathing space to Yashwant Varma, who so far denied that the three-member panel, which has already investigated him and indicted him, found him guilty, and guilty of the fact that he may have been involved in one capacity or other, if a stack of cash, and a huge stack for that matter, was found in an outhouse belonging to him. I think this also further gives him more breathing space, because this will be a second panel independently now constituted by the parliament, which will look into whether Yashwant Varma was responsible for that stack of cash, and bring to light perhaps his role and involvement. And those two investigation, we are given to understand, Brijesh, will be carried on simultaneously, because from Supreme Court just over a week ago, we heard Supreme Court categorically saying that while our investigation and our process is on, Parliament can take an independent route on whether it wants to impeach Justice Yashwant Varma. And I think Speaker of Lok Sabha today setting the stage clear for his impeachment.
Absolutely. And I think, this is, I would see that Justice Varma is now in serious dock because the fact of the matter is, he has not been able to provide a very cogent and coherent explanation of how exactly that amount of cash was found in his bungalow, outhouse or otherwise. And also the fact of the matter that why did he choose not to appear before the interim panel, which was announced by the Supreme Court to investigate and go into the details as far as this particular case is concerned. This will be an independent investigation, no doubt. But I think, the odds are heavily loaded in against Justice Varma, and he'll be hard pressed to prove his innocence, because now he has to come up with a very clear explanation of how this cash landed at his outhouse.
Absolutely.
And also,
Brijesh, stay with us. We also have Sanjay Chadda, senior advocate, joining us on the show. Mr. Chadda, you heard the Parliament there moving very swiftly to form a new panel to look into Justice Yashwant Varma's claims that he was not guilty, that stack of cash did not belong to him, and he had absolutely nothing to do with it. In your assessment, how long before he's impeached?
Look, this is nothing but a general practice. Whenever we have seen such processes happening, though so far none of them have been sailed through finally, because in some occasions some judges have resigned or so on and so forth. So here, this is a general practice. The court, the Parliament has to appoint that. In front of that committee, the justice has to appear, and he has all rights to explain as to how he was not involved, or whatever is the explanation from his side. So he can give that explanation there. And based upon that, a panel will produce the report before the Parliament, and based upon which further impeachment process, if so, will proceed.
It's a standard practice, but at the same time, I think what we are also seeing happening are the two processes unfolding simultaneously. So while on one hand, Supreme Court is hearing Justice Yashwant Varma's petition where he's challenged the in-house inquiry report against him, at the same time, a new panel has now been constituted. Would it be right to say, therefore, that he's in serious trouble at this point?
No, certainly he is in very serious trouble, number one. Number two, Supreme Court has categorically say no to what challenge he has done, because Supreme Court in its order has very categorically mentioned that, look, this panel has given you ample notices, this panel has given you opportunity to appear before the panel and explain the case, but you choose not to appear despite the service. So that is the reason, and the court has taken a very straight view on this, that you can't, it is not you who will decide as to whether to appear or not. And once you have not decided not to appear before, you can't come up before us that it is an ex parte kind of thing, where no explanation was sought by the panel. So Supreme Court has already rejected his plea. And
so,
as far as this... Yes,
right.
please.
So I have to ask you, what happens here on, sir? Run us through what the impeachment process will look like for Justice Varma.
Now, very simply and plain, and in a very plain language, this judge has to appear before this panel. The panel will hear him as the Honorable Speaker has read out as to what exactly was there. So accordingly, Justice Varma has to reply all those queries, and if he is able to explain the source and how it all happened, his side of story is convinced, and he is able to convince the panel, then I think that would be a different case. But it is a crystal clear case. He does not have any explanation as far as so far we have seen. That is the reason he was avoiding to appear before the panel, which was constituted by the then CJI, Mr. Khanna. So,
okay.
And the moment if the report is placed before the Parliament, there will be a voting in which we all know that two-thirds majority is needed for his impeachment.
All right, and that two-third majority is likely to come by the way of the support that opposition parties have also given to that impeachment process. But I have to ask you, the last time around when court was hearing the matter, and Justice Varma, being represented by Kapil Sibal, said that the in-house procedure was extra constitutional mechanism because it violated Parliament's exclusive authority to remove a High Court judge. But now that Parliament has also formed a 3-member panel, a committee to look into those allegations, I believe those legal hurdles are also clear?
Exactly, and that was not the contention raised by the Justice Varma before the Supreme Court was not accepted, as I said earlier also. So it is not accepted by the court. Court has said that you have chosen not to appear, number one. Number two, the contention that that was an extra constitutional proposition appointing a panel. It was a special case. It was a case where a huge amount of cash, some of it was burnt also, was found. A videography is done, and all that was in public. So I don't think there was anything which was, which was extra constitutional or something which was unconstitutional. So every time, the objective now, if we see it from the angle that inquiry, I could say that was a preliminary inquiry. Now we can come to the Supreme Court, we can come to the Parliament, and Parliament has adopted the right process which is there. So the earlier activity which was done was not at all extra constitutional, but it was very much within the domain of the Constitution, I think.
But that was the submission made by Justice Yashwant Varma's representation in the court, and the court, of course, denied all those, all that recommendation, and in fact upheld the three-member panel report. But now, to add to that, to add more, perhaps integrity to the ongoing process, to make it perhaps more solid by the way of legality, the court has now, in fact, the Lok Sabha now has constituted a three-member panel. So Speaker of the Lok Sabha, they're announcing a three-member panel that will look into those allegations to ensure that the integrity of the judicial process in this country is maintained and respected. Sanjay Chadha, thank you very much for all those details, for joining us on the show.